You are now listening to the Fighting Back Podcast, and here's your host, Jessica Travis.
Welcome to the Fighting Back Podcast. I am here with David Migneault. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderful today.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast with me. Before we get really started in talking, I wanted to give the audience just a little introduction to you, a little bio about you so they know who you are.
Well, when I was young, if you want the bio, you can get the whole thing in 30 seconds or less.
Okay.
Never understood why people hurt one another, so I always wanted to pick a profession where I could help people the most. We're all just trying to get through this life and make it to the finish line, and it seems like there's a lot of people try to interfere with that journey. So initially I started out and I was a military policeman because I figured being law enforcement, you can help people when they need it the most. Right at the critical moment in their lives, you can make a change and a difference. Whether to arrest or not arrest, whether to assist. And as a public servant, your first responsibility is to helping people. So after I left the military, I was a correctional officer for 2.5 years, and then I was a policeman. And as a police officer, I was able to experience that goal. And while a policeman, I became an attorney. I went to law school. And as an attorney, you help people, again, when they need it the most.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not just a matter of being hired. Sometimes it's just guidance, just a simple question.
That's true.
And that's what I do. I found that in my own private practice at 27 years that a lot of times you're a counselor, you're a therapist, you're a financier, you're a friend, or just a phone call in the night to vent. And that's the job, the role that you're supposed to take when you're an attorney. At least that's what I always thought. And that's why I became to fight a law. They have that same type of mentality that I had in my own practice. It's not just about money, it's about helping people. And that's what we do here, and that's why I'm here.
Absolutely. And we were lucky enough to get you over a year ago now. And you, at Fighter Law, handle all of the initial consultations, which is really cool because you get to talk to people first before anybody else really in the firm does. But tell me a little bit about when we talk about initial consultations or consultations for potential clients. A lot of people who've never interacted with an attorney before doesn't really know what that means. So what really happens with those consultations? Why should people call?
Well, you shouldn't call just because you have a matter. You should also call because there may be a matter. At Fighter Law, obviously, we're looking to help people and be retained, but by the same token, we also do the public service of when people call us, sometimes they just might have a question of what they should or shouldn't do. So before they need an attorney, they can call up and just say, this is a factual scenario, what do you think? And I'll give my personal advice, and I'll tell them it's personal. And I'll also give them the legal consequences, whatever decision that they make. And a lot of times they'll call too with a legal matter. The initial consultation, I always tell people it's very important to be upfront and honest with the attorney. Why people fib to an attorney is ridiculous. And what I tell them is, when you fib to an attorney, any advice the attorney gives you is completely worthless.
Right.
The only person in the entire room that doesn't know the actual facts is the attorney. The one that you want to protect you doesn't know the pratfalls that can harm you, and it's ridiculous. So the first thing I tell them is to be honest. The second thing is I have to take it to my grave whether they retain me or not. So it's the one time in your life you can talk to somebody and know it's not going anywhere.
Right.
The third thing is, having been in the criminal justice system for the last 47 years, I've heard it all. There's nothing anybody's going to tell me that's going to shock me, whether I've experienced in a law enforcement capacity, in a corrections capacity, or as an attorney. I've seen it, heard it, did it. As attorneys, we don't judge. We protect, we console, we counsel, but we don't criticize, we don't condemn, none of that. So that's what I try to make sure they understand when they're first talking to me.
Yeah, I kind of think of it a little bit like when you have a situation and you're like, okay, this might not be serious enough to call 911, but like, should I call the non-emergency line? Like, is this something that police should be involved in or not? I feel it's sometimes the same with our clients, or like, is this a legal situation that lawyers should be involved in or not? Is this something that I even need a lawyer for? Are those kind of questions you can help out with as well?
All the time. And a lot of times we will give advice, or I'll give advice that, yeah, you really don't need an attorney in this situation. And that's the best thing about this firm. Because it's easy to say, yeah, retain us and we'll do it. Knowing that chances are we're not going to be very successful doing it, but we can file the paperwork, get it done, but it's probably not going to have a positive outcome. We will, or at least I will, on behalf of the firm, advise clients that this is what they're looking at and give them a realistic point of view so that if they still want to retain, we'll be more than happy to do it, and we'll definitely do our best efforts. But we will never give false hope or false doom. What we will do is give excellent advice and superior professional services to the best of our ability. And that's all you can ask from an attorney. But there's been many times I've told somebody, if you just called me up beforehand, I would have told you what to do. And you wouldn't be in this situation now. It's that simple.
So if what I'm hearing you say is it's really better if you're in any type of legal situation, and if you don't know if you need a lawyer or not, it's better to call, have the conversation, say, okay, I don't need a lawyer. I can continue on with my life, as opposed to not making that call when you really did need a lawyer, and then it's worse trying to fix whatever could have been solved easier in the beginning.
Yeah, people are a little embarrassed, or they feel that they only need to call an attorney when they have an issue.
Right.
They should call an attorney when they have a question. Likewise, I always tell people, if you're thinking something and should not do it, don't. It's the simplest of thing. And then call an attorney, then find out if you should, versus just throwing it out there, doing it, and then have buyer's remorse.
That makes sense. And I know the good thing about your calls and about Fider Law is I know some attorneys will charge just for that first phone call with you, just to give that legal advice, to see what's going on in your situation. But I know with you and with Fider Law, we don't charge for that first call.
That's right. So it's completely free. There's no requirement for you to have to put anything down, nor are you being pressured at all. And that's the main thing. It's not a used car dealership. It's a professional service where you're going to be able to give a question and get your question answered in an honest and truthful manner. And like I always say, I'm not 100% correct all the time. I mean, I'm sure, well, so far, but down the road, I'm sure that I won't be. So I always tell people it's always, please get a second opinion. Feel free. This is just my assessment, but it's based on my years of expertise. And if I don't know a question, or if somebody has a question that I'm not immediately confident in, I'll say, well, I'll call you back. Let me speak to my colleagues. And then I'll speak to you or Tom or one of our other great staff and just simply say, hey, listen, I got this issue. What do you think? And it's amazing the responses that you get.
Absolutely. Everybody working together to kind of come up with those answers.
Yeah. And that's the nice thing about this, too, is at Vital Law, very collegiate. We have a great group of people, and they're zealous about not only winning, but helping out their clients. And that's what you want from a law firm. You want to get a law firm that's not interested in the bottom line, but in the reputation, because anyone that's been in this business, anyone that has any business knows you get an initial client, it's X amount of dollars, but you treat people fair. You give them the answer. You don't necessarily retain because you didn't have to, but down the road it pays back in dividends because they'll refer you to their family and friends because they know you treat them fairly. You didn't try to get their dollar. Instead, you tried to give them great advice. And that's what it should be about, because if a firm can't be based on its reputation and its referrals, then they're probably not doing something right.
And I know our motto is we fight because we care. But I think, at least my experience, that isn't just a motto that we have for the firm. That's something that all of our attorneys and all of our paralegals and everybody on the team truly believe in.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of different jobs, especially government jobs and stuff. And it's kind of funny. I remember back in the 80s, they spent a lot of money on a think tank on how to improve the workplace, how to improve things. And when it came out, it looks like they did exactly the opposite, literally the exact opposite. And it's like, and you know, I'm a common sense kind of guy. My dad told me life is not difficult, it just takes common sense. And I've been using it my whole life. It's amazing the people that don't. But here, I've never been with such a group of people that just like to come to work. I mean, you know the place is a good place to work when people are smiling, when there's not that undercurrent of sniping and backfighting and little cliques. We don't have any of that. It's amazing because people are all together just to try to do a good job.
It really is great. Well, I want to wrap up, but before we do, if we have somebody who's listening to the podcast who's kind of on the fence of, should I call Fighter Law, should I not? What do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, if you have 10, 15, 30, 60 minutes free, and it is free, what do you get to lose? Just call. If we can't help you, we will provide you the direction of somebody that can. If we can't provide the services that you need, we'll advise you of that we can't provide the services that you need. But if we can, you'll have the best experience with trained professionals that will have your best interest at heart and do everything in their power to make sure that you come out whole. Can you ask for anything more from a professional?
I love it. Well, Attorney Migneault, thank you so much for talking with me. I hear that people are already starting to call you and want your advice and opinion on this.
I know it.
So I'm going to let you go so you can get back to those calls. But thank you so much for coming in here today and talking with me. It's been a really great time.
Thank you. And it's been wonderful having you. And about that company.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful or informative, don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. Like, follow, subscribe so you never miss a show, and help others know their rights by spreading the word. Your support helps us keep fighting back. The information provided in the Fighting Back podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as legal advice. Every case is unique and should be reviewed by a qualified attorney who can provide guidance based on the specific facts and circumstances of your case. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship with Fighter Law or any of its attorneys. If you are facing any legal issue, we strongly encourage you to consult with a licensed attorney directly.